Once upon a time, there was a podcast. The podcast was called...
I'm just not that into games.
I knew it.
So Andy, how's it going?
It's going well. I've just finished playing the Stanley Parable.
Yep, you're in a good mood?
Mate, I figure this is the peak of the mountain.
Oh, it's all downhill from here?
It could be a gentle slide, it could be a gentle decline, or it could be a sharp drop off.
Well, how about being promoted to the role of president?
Okay.
All right. So this week's game is something a little bit different. We've been playing a lot of character-driven games, all, controlling a single person, interacting with the world. This time we're going to be playing a game called Tropico 4. Have you heard of Tropico?
I've not heard of Tropico.
Right, so Tropico is a series of city-building games. But instead of being like a SimCity clone where you're building just a regular city, you're instead a ruler of a small banana republic.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh.
During your democratically elected term, of course, you can choose how to develop your little island nation. You have to manage the needs of your people, your economic fortunes, and the desires of different countries around the world. You can build your island around farming, mining, tourism, or manufacturing, and there's lots of flexibility in how you approach your island. You just need to make sure that whatever systems you build on your island work. The thing is, though, is that your people belong to different factions, and you need to make sure that they all like what you're doing because, presidents come and go, rebels happen, people get tossed aside. So these different factions there's 8 different ones in this game. You've got capitalists, communists, intellectuals, religious, militarists, environmentalists, nationalists, and loyalists. And these different group of people all have their own little wants and desires. And as you can see, if you do something for one group, there's probably another group that's not going to like what you're doing. So one of the little things that wraps up this little pretty package, though, is that you have this little book of edicts on the side that has like 50 to 100 or so different little rules that you can enact to just change up your island or to create new rules. And there's things like, want to help out your people? Why not enact some form of social security? Need a bit of money? Why not let the USA use your island for nuclear weapons testing? Think you deserve a bit of a treat? Why not fund a TV series about your life? These little edicts help steer the direction of your island and make it really feel like you're that sort of leader of a banana republic. You're just, doing whatever you want, and these people will follow you. I'm recommending Tropico 4 from the series because there is a sequel 5, which is newer and looks nicer, but I think it just moves a little bit too slowly in the early bit, and it holds your hand too much by gating content. Tropico 4 does have a higher barrier of entry, but, damn it, you're running a country. It should be hard. Right?
So this could go one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
One, it is one of the most incredible things I've ever played because it's targeted directly to people like me.
Right.
Or it's a game trying to be something which it cannot be.
Which is?
A fun representation or vaguely accurate representation of those two very complex processes.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
Or it's like a gamer's take on what they think politics and economics really is. And if that's what it is, be prepared. Be prepared for me to hate it.
I am always prepared for you to hate games.
But as always, I go in with an open mind.
And an objective viewpoint.
So you've sold this game pretty well to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like this game is attempting something much like a life/work simulator.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a game.
Well, yeah. Are you just going to start going around and saying that things aren't games anymore?
No. I'm not going to say. I'm not going on that tact this time.
Yeah.
What I'm saying here is that's a really high bar, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a high bar to say that this is going to be an accurate representation or a fun representation.
It's a fun. I wouldn't say accurate. That might be a bit much.
Okay, a fun representation of the complex nature of life and running a country.
Yep.
I will be very surprised if this is fun.
All right, well, let's see. So, Mr. President, have you adapted to your regular life now that you've stepped down from your democratically elected position?
So you're referring to the experience I had whilst playing Tropico 4?
Well, no. I was talking about your real life experience.
Good joke. No, look, I played Tropico 4. I can sum it up like this. I didn't have fun, but I didn't not have fun.
It was so average, I guess?
Not really. Like, I didn't want to keep playing Tropico 4, but it felt strangely rewarding.
Right.
Strangely but familiarly rewarding playing Tropico 4.
Oh.
And it intrigued me more than any of the other games I've played so far.
Right.
Yep. So the game itself, the way the game is set up, intrigued me. So let's start with a few of the things I liked, and we'll do it as we always do it. Like a few of the things I liked, a few of the things I disliked, and then we'll get to the really interesting stuff, the stuff that I think this game's got going on. Right?
All right, let's hit it.
So I liked the tutorial, surprisingly enough. It was long, I know, hugely long and hard work, but it did actually pay off. Like, and of course, this will lead into one of the things I dislike later, but it paid off because the game is actually quite hard to control.
Yeah, there's a lot of systems.
Yeah, there's a lot of systems, and the user interface is terrible, and we will get to that. Now, I also dug the general game vibe. Like, you know, I'm into politics and history, and I just... They really nailed the whole Marxist, you know, South American / Cold War era.
Yeah. It was tongue-in-cheek, but very, very accurate
yeah,
in some ways.
on point. Like, at no point did I think, these guys don't, like, these guys have just seen a poster and gone, oh, I think that's communist. No, they have really, really nailed it. Like, they've got the whole tin pot country thing down pat, right?
Yeah.
They really have. And I enjoyed that. And the quotes in between on loading screens were just bang on. Like, it just added to everything. And I think the most shocking ones of all, and, you know, history always is shocking when it comes back at you, is stuff from the US administration. Like, I remember one quote from Kissinger stood out saying that the Chilean people don't deserve the vote because that's not what's best for them. And this is a quote that he'd made before the US supported Pinochet. Like the brutal dictator Pinochet. Yeah. And, you know, I know a Chilean, you know, I went to GovBack with a Chilean, like, you know, and just to say those sort of things. But that was totally, that quote wouldn't have been at a place at the time, right? So that kind of stuff was really cool. Now, I did say I didn't have fun, but I felt like I got a lot done.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, right? Like,
yeah, very much. And you know what made me happy?
Now, this is what I actually wanted to talk to you mainly about, and one of the reasons I suggested was that in previous episodes, you've talked about how you don't want to play a game that feels like work, and yet you've also commented that you do enjoy working and getting stuff done, and, you know, one of those people that really likes to be productive, I guess, and you really get enjoyment out of that.
I get a real buzz out of that. Like, I mean, we were just talking today at work. I was talking with one of the guys who I sit next to, and he described his weekend to me, which to most people would have sounded like a whole lot of work. And he was just so happy. He was so relaxed after working the entire weekend. But he was doing something he liked. And it's something that it's inside me. Like, I like to do stuff that's valuable. I don't consider that like time wasted. In fact, I feel more energized afterwards.
Right. So how does that translate to games about feeling productive? Because I feel like a lot of people that play things like Tropico 4 are after that sort of sense of achievement and productivity, but also with the context of being a fun, engaging game, something that, you know, has well-constrained rules that you can get help with if you're stuck or something like that, rather than being, you know, approaching a new project that you can't normally do.
So what do you mean? Like, how do you think it relates to this game?
Well, do you think that it relates to, I guess, yes.
Okay. Well, yes is the answer you were looking for.
Yes.
So,
thank you.
It's behind the door and marked yes, Sam.
You could take over my seat as well if you want.
Sure. Okay. Look, we'll just run through a couple of things that are about this game.
Yeah, right.
Because one of those things is actually really important to why I think this game is so interesting.
Yep.
Now, straight away, the UX and use it, like the interface, the UI, terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
All kinds of terrible. They don't understand the layers of information. Like, I have too much information on some things. I have not enough information on others. Constantly, the menus are all out of balance. Like, like I'll have really deep information on top, and the information I really need, the basic stuff, is right down the bottom to make quick decisions. So all that kind of stuff just needs a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
The builders are lazy bastards. Like, Here's something that just struck me, and for a moment there, I thought I was on, an Athenian building site just before the Olympics.
Right.
Because there was just all these buildings full of these goddamn builders, right? All these building projects, money in the bank, all these building projects lying fallow with no bloody builders on them at all.
Yep.
And I'm like, why aren't you building? I could not work out how to get them to go build.
Well, a lot of it was that all the individual characters operate on their own rules, so they might have been living in a house very far away from work, so then they have to get from home to work to the construction yard, and then from the construction yard to the site, and then back again. So if that distance is too long, they'll just take forever to get anything done.
Okay, so that leads me to one of the things that annoyed me about this, but one of the things that's key, probably the best thing about it, which makes it interesting for me. That's really hard to figure out, and I don't know whether you can figure that out.
Yeah.
And that really ticked me off because I spent almost 3 hours playing this and I didn't die.
Yeah.
And I was terrible at the game, and I should have died, and I just got given money for random things from random people.
Yeah, I would actually say that's a big issue with the game. Too easy.
Should have killed me. Should have killed me. I would have been fine starting over. We talked previously about Hotline Miami.
Yep.
And the fact that they just got that loop down real well, it didn't make me feel bad about hey, you died, but you know what, dude, it's fine. It's fine. Just try again. Yeah, I feel okay about that. And in this game, it felt like they were like, oh, we don't want to kill him too early. I'm like, no, kill me. I'm doing a really bad job. I would prefer to just go back to the start and start again.
Yeah.
But here comes the thing. It's vague and confusing, and so is life.
Yep.
I get paid to go to a job, and I pretty much know what I need to do. But even my bosses, who aren't dumb by any means, and by any stretch of the imagination, even they don't know what to do because they can't predict the future and I can't either. I mean, we can have a go, but none of us have been right yet. And life is like that too. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm making the right choices. I don't have full information. No one does. I have a very vague idea of what the hell is going on at any one point, if I'm being really honest. And even workers, and work is totally like that. We have a very vague idea about what's going on at any one time, and we try our best to find out, but we don't know, right?
Right.
And Tropico had this vague, I don't really know what causes what or what's happening where.
You know that there's problems, and you know that there's things you can do to fix that.
And I don't know if they'll work.
Don't know if they'll work.
And yet I felt good. I felt good about being in the Tropico world, and I felt good about trying out different solutions and seeing how they work.
Yep.
And previously I talked about Hotline Miami about being an interesting learning model, like an interesting model for, hey, why don't you fail and fail and fail
fast,
and
as
fail
fast as possible,
and fail and fail and fail some more, but actually you just want to keep on trying and eventually get that and learn from your mistakes.
Yep.
I mean, and that works for very narrow use cases.
Very tight games, I think. Very tight circumstances.
Circumstances, right? Whereas Tropico feels like this is the model. This is the model. If Tropico was a job, I'd enjoy that job. like
so you want to be dictator then?
Well, I mean, like the game, the game itself. Like,
yeah, sure. That's what I was talking about.
So I think of something like superannuation or life insurance and products like these, or situations where you're working on a support desk or things like this, where you have multiple strands of information coming in and multiple scenarios which you can't really quantify. Like, you can build dashboards and do this kind of stuff, and all you're ever doing there is you're just condensing the information streams down so the information is even more tightly packed.
Right. You're cutting it down to just a small, narrow view.
But still, that view is hopelessly complex. And all the time in these kind of things, in real-world situation, we analyze and we analyze and we analyze, then we make a decision, hoping that it's the best decision. Tropico doesn't do that, man. Tropico's like, I'll give you virtually no information. There's a bit there, but it might be wrong too, and I don't really know what the effects are. Thus, the builders, what was influencing them? I don't know. The main thing is they're not at the building site. There you go, done. That's all you need to know. And they're just like, they just race headlong towards a conclusion. If I had that kind of interface, if I had that kind of model to try and understand complex things, where I could just take all these complex interactions and just see what happens, and just see what happens, and then use the end result to come back up and see why it had happened.
Right. And then try something and see what it's happened.
Try something else.
Right.
And I mean, and if Tropico had been any tighter, then this wouldn't have worked. Because like, I always would have known beforehand, I would have been able to analyze the stats and seen, I should make this move next.
Right.
I should make this move next. It's clear. It's just like Sim Farm. In the first Sim Farm, You should plant oranges, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Just plant oranges. You're fine. Just plant oranges. That breaks the game. Done.
Yeah.
You are done.
Yeah.
But Tropico's like, I don't know.
Hidden stats all over the place. You don't fully get a sense of what's going on.
And then just a whole lot of random shit comes in because people are random and shit's random. Like, you know.
Yeah, everything just starts collapsing because a garage gets overloaded and then you're sitting there going, oh, why is there's so many people gathered around this place? And you're sort of trying to back engineer working out what's going wrong.
Yeah, and the whole flow on effect, like one thing touches another thing, which causes, like, you know, yes, your trade imbalance might go down, but does that cause social unrest? And does social unrest cause something else? And all these complex interaction effects. You know, one of my big things against the game was that it just wasn't a slow enough onboarding for me. Like, there was no slow ramp up. I was 20 minutes into the game. I was dealing with 7 or 8 different issues, and I barely had a handle on building. I barely had a handle on how to build, right? And they're trying to get me to deal with foreign policy, but that's life. That's life and work.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
Yeah, just slow down, kid. You can deal with high school and the math and everything, and you can work out relationships later. No, it's all going to come at once.
That's actually one of the biggest problems I had with Tropico 5, because what they do in the 5th one is they split the game up into 4 different eras. So you start off by building your city in the first era, and they've got very limited stuff, and it makes a slow onboarding process, and then you sort of go into the next tier, you research the next lot of stuff, and then research the next one, and then you sort of level up that way. But it results in this game feeling very safe, I think is the way to say it. Like, you never really feel pressured to do anything because, you know, the only problems you have to solve are the easy problems with the easy things that you start with, and then the game just ramps up to the point that you're just adding one more problem to solve, and it doesn't really change up the way you think about the game.
Yeah, I can totally see, like, there's heaps of stuff I change about making it easier to play the game.
Yeah, the UI especially.
The UI.
Right?
And, you know, the radio station. I was just begging for... There's a website I listen to called mynoise.net, and it's just gorgeous. It's got all these sound generators on there. I'm like, surely you just could have taken one of the generators out of there that's like an island sounds. There's a few island sounds generators. Combined it with some revolutionary style generator, and you could have done that. I would have been fine with that for background noise. In fact, that's what I should have probably done now.
Yeah,
now I think about it, turn off the goddamn sound and just go. So, like I said, I think they've got a lot right here. Seriously, I think they've got a lot right. I think the wrapper is crappy, like in some ways. I mean, like obviously the theme. Yeah, the core of it, I think they've got something really interesting. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, wouldn't keep playing it in its current form, but it's the most intriguing game you've got me to play so far.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So this has been I'm Just Not That Into Games, a podcast where we talk about games and then suddenly turned it into discussions about analysis and data and models. So we're the coolest podcast on the block then, aren't we?
It's always been about data analysis and models, Sam.
Always been?
Always been.
Yeah, I haven't been paying attention. Hey audience, just between you and me while Andy's not listening, you should send any recommendations for fun games that I should get Andy to play, and we'll make sure that happens. You can leave us a message on Facebook, you can leave a message on YouTube, or leave a review on iTunes, and we'll be sure to make him play that favourite game of yours. So, what is your last act as dictator?
Minstrels, commence. Music, play.